all these things we have covered already yesterday. Now moving ahead with today's session. The title for and the plan for today's first session is getting familiar with the other two domains, which are affective domain and psychomotor domain of Bloom's taxonomy of learning, right? So I think most of us are already familiar with these affective domains and the psychomotor domains. Yesterday, a short introduction was given by Professor Zishan on this affective domain and the psychomotor domain. Now, let me just tell you the similarities or the relations between the Bloom's taxonomy's cognitive level and affective level or affective domains. Both are like how they talk about how well a skill is mastered, both cognitive domain and as well as the affective domain. Both are hierarchical, which means again difficulty increases as we move with the levels from bottom to top. It is a bottom-up approach. And affective domain deals with the manner in which we deal with things emotionally, such as feelings, values, appreciation, enthusiasm, motivation, and attitudes. Now, as we have discussed, the difficulty level rises as we go up from the level 1 to the higher levels. The affective domains also have the levels similar to the cognitive domain. And each higher level incorporates whatever is in the lower level and is the advanced version of the same, I can say that. What emotions learner actually attribute to the knowledge being imparted on them is what the affective domain talks about. Now, moving ahead with the levels. So here we see the levels of affective domain. There are 5 levels, starting with the receiving, moving on to responding, then to valuing, to organizing, and the last level and the highest level is characterization, also known as characterizing by value set popularly. So basic level starts from bottom to the advanced level, subsequently reaching to the highest level, which is characterization. So when we take our learners through a journey, we expect them to first receive, then respond, and then to start valuing it, and then start organizing it in their minds, and then to build their own characters based on the knowledge imparted. That is the goal which any learning or tutoring session you might be providing. So starting with receiving, then to responding, to valuing, then organizing things in their minds, and then finally characterizing are the levels in the hierarchical order of the affective domain. Now, let us understand and look at each levels individually in a very simple and straightforward manner. One by one, we'll just look at each of the levels, and then we'll see examples pertaining to each of the levels as well. So our level 1 is receiving. Receiving, this is the most basic level, I can say. At this level, the learner will be expected to basically attend the learning session and be aware of what kind of knowledge is being imparted. Also, be willing to hear or receive the knowledge being imparted. In general, just be attentive to whatever knowledge is being imparted. So if a student is attending a lecture, just attending it, so he or she will be automatically be at this level because he chose to attend the session by himself or herself. So that is the first level of affective domain, which is receiving. Receiving is done by just listening attentively, showing sensitivity to social problems. These are the examples which are listed. Listen others with respect. Then moving on to the level 2, which is responding, which is subsequently one level higher than receiving. So when the student is at this level, responding, when he starts responding, it automatically it proves that he is receiving whatever the knowledge is being imparted. So responding at this level, your learners are doing more than just attending. At this level, the learner will be willing to respond, will be reacting and not just listening to the knowledge by being imparted. And at mental level, will be satisfied to respond. Or we can say that the student is motivated to respond at this level. So that can be observed by, observing the students completing their homeworks, obeying rules, participating in the discussions actively, showing interest in the subject, helping others, and he actually enjoys helping others, he or she. Then gives presentations. So kind of, this is a motivation phase for our students. So level 1 was receiving. Level 2 is responding of our affective domain. And when we say responding, it automatically is understood that the student is receiving and is readily accepting the response and is motivated to respond. Now moving on to the level 3, which is valuing. Now this is where the advanced level starts from. Those two are the basic levels. Just being in the class, listening to the lectures, and then responding to the lectures. Those are the two basic levels of affective domain. Now moving on to the little higher level, which is, or we can say little advanced level, which is valuing. So we can say that this is the level where the advanced level starts from, because at this level, the learner is not just receiving the information and responding to it, they're also attaching some level of values to it, which is extremely important. Because if a particular topic or phenomenon makes its way to the learner's value system, then the knowledge is definitely being imparted. At this level, the learner will attach value to phenomenon and strongly associate with the topic. Also, demonstrate commitment to certain values being imparted. So not just receiving the information, but it also is affecting the person emotionally. Person here is our student. So the student is willing to go out of the way and build upon the topic because they associate value to it and they are willing to take it to the next level. So if we just take up examples, we can say proposing, a student will be proposing a plan to bring out improvement on a social level, demonstrate belief in democratic process, appreciate the role of science in daily life, and so on. So this is the advanced level, I can say, the valuing. Valuing is the third level of affective domain. Now moving to the next level, we have organization. At this level, the learner will prioritize different values and possibly even resolve conflicts arising from them. Not just prioritizing, they will also be emphasizing prioritization to other people. Like for example, we can say students after completion of their classwork, they will be prioritizing and emphasizing on work-life balance. Organization is a very advanced level, we can say, and is highly desirable for the teacher that the learners be at this level. So that is what the organization talks about of the affective domain. Now moving up to the next level, which is characterizing, which is the final level. also known as characterization by value set. At this level, learner has actually progressed to a level where he or she has initialized the concepts and is letting it change his or her behavior, or which will have an impact on the lifestyle of the student, we can say. Example, learner displays consistently thorough commitment towards the ethical practice of this value system. Or we can say revises judgments and changes behavior in light of new evidence. Values people for what they are, not how they appear to be. So this is the highest level of affective domain. Now, moving back, we'll just have a recap of all the values, all the levels of the affective domain. Receiving. So willing to be aware of the situations, or by just being in the class, the student is willing to be receiving. So by default, we'll be at this level, level 1. Then moving on to the next level, responding. So willingly participating and, volunteers and find satisfaction in participating. Then the student is at this level of affective domain. We can say that he or she is satisfactorily performing. And then valuing. This is the little advanced level compared to the basic 2 levels, which is valuing. And then organizing. Organizing is like having the higher level or the advanced level compared to the valuing. And at this level, the learner will be able to prioritize different values and possibly resolve conflicts arising from them. Right? And then the highest level is characterizing, which will have an impact directly on the learner's lifestyle. So these are the 5 levels of affective domain, which are, related to emotions of the students. And then we can say they are directly related to the feelings, values, motivation, attitude of the student, and appreciation, we can say. So that's all about affective domain. Now moving on to the psychomotor domain. Here I have listed the psychomotor domain. Again, it has a hierarchical level. There are 7 steps or 7 stages in which the psychomotor domain can be classified. Now, before moving ahead with the psychomotor domain, let us get familiar with what exactly the psychomotor domain is. Basically, psychomotor domain objectives are specific to physical functions or movements, reflex actions or body movements, or we can say movements of arms, movements of your eyes, movements of a student's body parts to kind of interpret information and to learn to continue the further learning process. So this is all related to movements. With the name itself, the word psychomotor, we can guess it actually, that it gives us a hint. It is something to do with the motor functions of our body, of our student's body. It is connected to learner's psychology and the learning process that a student's body goes through to actually enhance the learning. So the learner uses physical action to achieve both of the other domains, which are cognitive and affective domain. So this taxonomy is also hierarchical, as we have discussed. The first level of this hierarchy is perception. Now, moving on to perception. So here psychomotor skill ranges have been described from manual tasks, again, as we have discussed that it is all related to the physical activity, manual tasks such as digging a ditch or washing a car, to a more complex tasks such as operating a complex piece of machinery or dancing. So level 1 of our psychomotor domain is perception, or we can say awareness, which is the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activities. For example, we can say a candidate or a learner will be able to estimate where a ball is about to land after it is thrown, and then he'll be, trying to move to that position to correct the location to catch the ball, right? So that is perception, imagining and adjusting yourself by moving and changing the position. So if we take one more example, we have adjust heat of stove to correct temperature by smelling and taste of food. That is also like perception and moving something to make it adjusted. Then moving on to the level 2, which is set, or we can say readiness, a learner's readiness to act. So it includes mental, physical, emotional sets. All three of them are involved in this. This part is like closely related to the responding phenomenon of affective domain, we can say. And if the student is not fit in any of these three emotional sets, which is three sets, which is mental, physical, and emotional, he is not ready to learn. He or she is not ready to learn. So we can just list out the examples over here. Recognize one's ability and limitations. It shows the desire to learn a new process, or it's like a motivation. Moving on to the level 3, which is guided response or attempt. Now, in this level, when the student or learner is at this level, he actually tries to imitate and tries to attempt, and which is the early stages in learning a complex skill. So I can say at this level, the student is trying to gear up to reach the complex level of this skill. So he starts attempting. Or we can say this level is similar to imitation or trial and error. So examples listed are follows instruction to build a model, response to hand signals of instructor while learning. Proficiency, wherein the student is, the learner is trying to improve the proficiency in mastering anything. So this is the ability to perform a complex motor skill. This is an intermediate stage in learning. And if we just go to the examples, we have repairing a leaking faucet or trying to drive a car. So these are all basic proficiencies, which comes under mechanism, which is level 4 of psychomotor domain. So if you observe all things, all of these examples which we are discussing under psychomotor domain are something or the other to do with the movements, the actions. That is the reason the name is given as psychomotor, something to do with the movements. Now, moving to the level 5 of psychomotor domain, it's a complex overt response. So this is advanced level of your mechanism. So mechanism was basic proficiency, and here we can say it is expert proficiency, which is complex overt response. So this is the intermediate stage of learning a complex skill, we can say. So the proficiency is indicated by a quick, accurate, and highly coordinated performance. If we just try to list out the examples, we have maneuver a car into a tight parallel parking spot. So if the spot is very tight, and it will be difficult for the beginners who have started driving recently, it will be difficult for them to park the car in the tightly packed area. So when the person is expert, only then he can do it in a maneuver's way. So this example can be listed under expert proficiency. Or a learner operates a computer quickly and accurately. This example also can be listed under this. Displays competence while playing the piano. So these are the examples under the expert proficiency, which is our level 5. Now moving on to the next level, which is 6, adaptation, adaptable proficiency. So now at this level, our learner is expert in any of the proficiency, right? Now, adaptation, when we say adaptation, a learner's ability to modify motor skills to fit a new situations, to fit a situation which are not foreseen, which is not familiar with the learner. So at this level, our learner is expert proficiency. Now, along with that, he or she is able to modify the things based on the skill set which he is having to fit a new situation. For example, we can say a learner will be able to perform a task with a machine that is not originally intended to do, or we can say machine is not damaged if he or she is trying to do that task, which is not made for that particular task, and there is no danger in performing the new task. So if a learner is able to achieve this, we say that he has reached level 6, which is adaptation. Now, moving on to the last one, which is level 7, origination. So origination is something which is creative proficiency. So at this level, a learner's ability is to create a new movement pattern. New movement patterns, which are, to fit a particular situation or a specific problem. Or learner, have developed very high skills to create new things at this level. This is the highest level of psychomotor domain. So at this level, if you just check out the examples, everything is related to create. New equipment, car, gymnastic routine, or you can say new musical instrument. So these are the 7 levels of psychomotor domain, which are all related to the movements, reflexes. So all these 3 levels, the cognitive level, the psychomotor level, and the affective level. All of these levels combinedly, if we try to execute in a class, then we can achieve something which is creative. We can't make all the students in a class to go to a create level, but we can make students to move from one level to another level gradually, and it completely depends on us how we teach them. So coming to the conclusive remarks on these 3 domains, which is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. All these three domains of learning must be given due emphasis in higher technical education. Learning outcomes for a course must be written in such a way that those are realizable under ground realities of a given institution. So when we say that ground realities of a given institution, the ground reality of one particular institution may not be same as the other institution. Of course, the levels are different, the standards are different of different institutions. So the learning outcomes should be framed or written in such a way that they should be realizable based on the reality of the ground reality of the particular institution. And at the same time, we should be able to meet the standard requirements which are framed by NBA or NAAC or any accreditation body. And the most important conclusion which I can draw from these two sessions is, in learner-centered approach, when we say learner-centered approach, earlier the approaches which were carried out in teaching learning process were teacher-centric, we can say. Now, this OBE, outcome-based education, is completely learner-centered. In this approach, the teacher has to be, open-minded to modify the learning outcomes framed by him or her during the course of interaction with the students. Like if we try to fix the learning outcome, and if we are very rigid to change it, then we are just probably, limiting our students not to think beyond. That would be my last conclusion for these three domains of learning. So here are references. Now, before moving to the next thing, I would like to invite questions based on this, and then we'll have one more presentation, which is based on program outcomes. So any questions on these three domains? Any questions?
Hello, madam.
Yeah. Please go ahead. I can hear you.
Hello.
Yeah. Please tell me.
Hello.
Can you hear me? We can hear you. Please tell me.
Hello.
Somebody from aeronautical is speaking. Please tell me.
We identify these free edges and remove them. That is one thing which we can do in meshing itself. So identifies those regions and it definitely highlights and removes them. Of course, if you have any bad quality, so when we say ortho skew, it's all about the quality of that particular control volume there. So if it is very skewed control volume, you might have to repair it. So there are some diagnostic tool which can locally repair that particular control volume. So this will avoid you go for a remeshing or changing that. So you can just do some auto node movement and prepare it there itself. Yeah, and as I had mentioned that the meshing capabilities has improved really drastically these days. So today we have something called as a mosaic polyhex core meshing. So what it is really, I would like to explain it, is that you can see if you have a domain in this fashion, wherein you have this complicated curve geometries in place. So you can see capture the boundaries. One would like to have prism layers or some refined mesh near the boundaries. So that is what we call as the prisms. So you can see that the prisms are having polyhexacore kind of meshing profile, right? And then the next is the hexacore, the very best meshing profile one could expect with the best aspect ratio and best quality. So that is something which is been so the domain has been discretized in the free space or.
So I don't think there are questions. Are there any questions pertaining to the domains, 3 domains of learning, or shall we move ahead with this session?
Hello.
Yeah, please tell me.
Hello.
Please tell me, sir. We can hear you.
Hello.
If you are unable to listen to us, you can even post in the
Hello.
discussions. Yes, sir. Please tell me.
Hello.
You can post your queries if you have in the chat window. If you are unable to hear us,
All these 3 domains,
Madam,
you can appear for whole class and engage with it.
What is your underhood? How is it performing in that scenario when it is at 60 kilometers per hour of speed?
if you speak one at a time, we'll be able to discuss.
Changing.
I can hear 2 to 3 voices.
Some scenario you need to understand. So you can imagine a baking process, okay, in an oven. So you want to understand.
Okay, we'll take up the discussion session, I think, a little later. People are having a problem in conveying their questions. Meanwhile, I request you all to post your queries in the chat box. I am unable to hear your voice and I'm getting 2 to 3 questions at a time. So meanwhile, you just post your questions in the chat window and I request the technical team to sort out the questions and let me know the important questions to be discussed. I request the technical team to have a view at the chat window and note down the questions from the speakers and I request from the participants. And I request the participants to please post your queries in the chat window so that we can discuss further after this next presentation of mine. Is that okay? Shall we proceed with the next thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Please post your queries. Feel free to post your queries on the chat window. Now, moving ahead with the program outcomes, which I have taken up because it is important for you to understand few of the things related to the program outcome for the next session. So let me share my
Okay, madam. Program outcomes. Thank you, ma'am.
Let me share my screen
Thank
with
you.
you all and start my next presentation, which is on program outcomes. So let's start with the next presentation of mine, which is program outcomes. So by now, like as our chief guest was discussing yesterday, by now everybody is familiar what is outcome-based education and what are program outcomes. So program outcomes are also the graduate attributes. So program outcomes are basically the attributes which are expected to be in an engineer or a professional, regardless of the field of study, once he graduates. So once he finishes his graduation, these are the attributes which are expected to be in a particular profession. Right? So these are stated by the National Board of Accreditation, which are already framed for us. We just have to try to achieve them and as well as we need to prove it that we are, achieving it. That is done by a process which is to be followed. To ensure these attributes to their fresh graduates get accredited. So, being a signatory member to Washington Accord, Indian Accreditation Agency, which is NBA, has made it mandatory for all the technical institutions to adapt the OBE framework for their curriculum design and the delivery. So this OBE framework is all about program outcomes, course outcomes, program educational outcomes, trying to, get the attainments through mapping, COPO mapping. So this is all about the OBE, outcome-based education. So when we talk about OBE, it is all about curriculum content and its organization. Curriculum content can't be done by the affiliated institutions. It has to be done by affiliating institutions, and also the autonomous bodies or the autonomous institutions have the right, to design their curriculum. Then this OBE talks about teaching methods and strategies and the assessment process. So here I have listed all the program outcomes which we are already familiar of, and let us not waste the time discussing each of these. I'll just read out for you all the 12 program outcomes. Okay, one slide got missing here. So there are 12 program outcomes which are listed. Here. So very first thing is engineering knowledge. So the engineering graduate, after completion of his or her engineering, will be expected to have this level. He should be able to apply the knowledge of mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals, and an engineering specialization to solve the complex engineering problems. So let us, try to understand this program outcome in detail. So it is all about mathematics, sciences, engineering fundamentals, and specializations. Let's say electronics or computer science or any other specialization. So he should be able to apply all this knowledge to, solve the complex engineering problems. So how do we say that this program outcome is achieved? By mapping our COs to POs. That is one way, but we can't do it directly. There are certain process or certain steps which are to be followed for us to map our course outcomes, which we have seen in yesterday's session and today's session, with the program outcomes. So let us understand how to, try to map the POs with COs. So this is like design down process, we can say. First, we are listed with the POs. We have our program outcomes listed with us. These are the attributes. These are the outcomes which an engineering graduate is expected to have after completion of his or her engineering. And to obtain those, to achieve those attributes, we start from the reverse approach, right? We have got the program outcomes. Now we need to frame our course outcomes and then try to attain those program outcomes. So we can say it is a design down methodology. And the courses which are used, the syllabus which is designed by the competent authority, are the building blocks of these programs. So let us, try to understand the two steps process to bring the clarity on what is a program outcome and how to analyze it and how to relate it with our course outcomes and how to get the attainment. There are certain steps to be followed. So PO1, as we have discussed, it is engineering knowledge. We should be able to apply the mathematics, the sciences, the engineering fundamentals, and engineering specializations. There are 4 parts in it. It is just listed as one program outcome, but if you check out the competency in it, there are 4 parts in this. The student should be able to, demonstrate the completeness in mathematics modeling, and then he or she should be able to demonstrate competence in basic sciences, and then he or she should be able to demonstrate competence in engineering fundamentals.
A smart home, like how is the.
And then lastly, the specialized engineering knowledge should be considered in competencies. So this program outcome is, divided into 4 competencies which are listed, and each of these competencies will have their own key indicators. So indicators are again depends on the teacher how it is being designed or being separated or segregated. So when we say demonstrate competence in mathematics modeling, mathematics is again all about calculus, linear algebra, and statistics to solve the problems. So we can divide that into one group. Then again, we can say that the advanced mathematics we can divide into the second group. Or if you want to separate the calculus, linear algebra, and statistics again into different indicators, we can do that as well. So basic sciences, when we talk about the competency, basic sciences, the key indicator, the indicator which is listed is the student should be able to apply the laws of natural science to the engineering problem. So these are the indicators under each of the competencies. So one program outcome, if you notice, is being classified into 4 competencies, and then we have again different indicators under each of the competencies. It is not just one program outcome. If we observe, we have so much to do with it. It is relating with 4 different things. And those 4 different competencies are again classified as indicators. For just the sake of saying, we can't say program outcome and try to directly, map the course outcome with the program outcome. We have to list out the competencies in this way, and then key indicators, which are your performance indicators, we can say, and then try to relate with the course outcomes. So here is the block diagram, which explains the same. We have a program outcome, competency to be obtained. So there are some 3 competencies which are listed, which we have discussed just now what exactly the competency is. And then we have performance indicator. So each of these performance indicators are to be mapped with our course outcomes. We can't directly map our program outcomes with the course outcomes. If we try to do that, we will be missing out the things which are in different competencies. Let's say we are talking about course outcome which is pertaining to mathematics. So if you just list out that a student is, have achieved a particular outcome and try to map with the course outcome directly, we are missing out the performance indicators which are there in that particular program outcome competencies. So you can't directly map. There are certain steps which are to be followed. And this part, the last part, which is CIE and SEE, attainments, assessment procedures, will be carried with the next speaker in the next session.
Otherwise, I can
Okay, madam.
need to understand
We
how
have one more example listed here, which is 10th program outcome, communication. Again, if you try to understand the program outcome, which is pertaining to communication, it has got 3 competencies.
how is the how to still
Sorry
have
to
the-
interrupt, madam. Your PPT
those
is
are
not
those
visible.
areas where
PPT is not visible.
Yeah, madam.
Yes, madam, yes. Yes, it is not as well.
Let me check with the technical team if it is visible.
It's visible, ma'am.
Visible? Okay. So shall we
Yes.
proceed with the second example of
Now it is
It's visible, ma'am.
program outcome?
For me, it is visible, madam.
Yeah, okay. So I request the participants to check with their data connectivity if the PPT is not visible, because it is visible to other participants. So there must be a problem at your connectivity. Now let us proceed with the program outcome 10, communication. So let us just read out the program outcomes. Communicate effectively on complex engineering activities with engineering community and with the society at large. So when we are addressing to this program outcome, it is talking about engineering community, the technical and the non-technical people as well, with the society at large, such as being able to comprehend and write effective reports and design documentation, make effective presentations, and give and receive clear instructions. So if we just try to break this program outcome into different competencies, we'll be able to do it in 3 parts. First one is the ability to, write, comprehend technical literature and document the project work. So this is the first thing, which is the ability to write the technical literature and document the project work. The second part, or the second competency under this program outcome, would be demonstrate, the learner should be able to, demonstrate competence in listening, speaking, and presentation. So this is verbal and non-verbal communication, listening, speaking, and presentation. And then moving to the last competency, it will be like ability to integrate different modes of communication. So once we have drafted our project, once we have written everything technically, and so that the other people who are non-technical also, if they go through the documents, they should be able to understand this is the step. These are the steps. So after doing everything, we should be able to, communicate it through different modes which are available. So these are the 3 competencies. Again, if you try to elaborate those competencies, have their own indicators, the performance indicators. So when we are talking about comprehending a technical literature, again, the performance indicators, 3 performance indicators comes into the picture, which is read, write, and interpret, understand the technical and non-technical information, and then produce clear picture, well-constructed and well-supported written engineering documents. And then lastly, we can say, once the document is written, it should be usable, it should be understandable easily to the people who are non-technical as well. So the flow of the document should be proper. So all these 3 performance indicators should be achieved in order to achieve first competency, which is comprehending technical literature. Then moving on to the next competency, which is speaking, listening, and presentation skills. This is again listen to and comprehend information. These are the performance indicators. And then deliver it effectively with oral presentation to both technical and non-technical audience. So we can say that these are the performance indicators under the second competency of communications program outcome. And then the last one, which is ability to integrate it to different modes of communication. So again, we can say we can divide it into 2 different performance indicators. One is using the figures, reports, and drawings, and the other one is to effectively convey it using different media available. So if you just observe one program outcome, there is so much into it to understand. You can't simply directly frame your course outcome and try to match it with your program outcome. We need to understand each of the competency and performance indicators pertaining to each of the program outcomes, which are listed by National Board of Accreditation. Now, moving ahead with program educational objectives. Everyone must be aware of this. POs, PEOs, and COs. We try to map them, right? So what exactly is a PEO? It's a broad statement that describes the career and professional achievement program is preparing the graduate to achieve within the first 3 years after graduation. So after completion of the graduation, the student is expected to have this program educational objectives within the first few years of their graduation. So we have certain guidelines to frame our PEOs. PEOs may not be same for every institution. They differ from institution to institution, again, based on their ground realities, as we were discussing for the course outcomes. So PEOs, the guidelines, let us just go through each of the guidelines. PEOs should be consistent with the mission of the institution. Mission and vision, everyone is aware of, right? Mission and vision. So PEOs should be something which should be related to the mission of the institution. And the number of PEOs should be manageable. They should not be too many, they should not be too less. And PEOs should be achievable by the program. PEOs should be specific to the program. It should not be too broad, and it should be based on the needs of the constituency. So these are the certain guidelines which are to be followed in order to frame our PEOs. Now, while framing how to evolve these PEOs is very important. How these PEOs are evolved. Who all are the stakeholders who should be considered in, framing these PEOs? So the stakeholders who are involved, or how we should evolve these PEOs, is in consultation with all our stakeholders, which are industry, alumni, students, management. All these members, all these stakeholders should be involved in writing the PEOs of a particular institution. Professional bodies, faculty, parents, again, these are all the stakeholders who should be consulted with in order to frame our PEOs. And the data on trends is also to be considered while we are framing our PEOs. And after all this consultations with all the stakeholders and analyzing the data pertaining to the profession, and then we have to summarize all these discussions. After summarizing, the accepted views will be reflecting our PEOs. So it is a continuous process. It is not one-way process or one-time process. For improvement of a particular institution, this cycle, it continues. Recently, I've got this picture from one of the FDPs, so I thought of sharing it with you. There is a mother in this picture who is, talking about the baby. Her baby, she wants her baby, to be achieving all these 4 things which are listed by 3 years, and the family wish, the family is on whole, the family's wish towards the baby are listed, and there are other things which are listed. So if we just try to relate all these quadrants with PEOs, and COs, it is really interesting relating the PEOs, and COs with the quadrants of this picture. So by 3 years, my baby should, this is the mother's wish, recognize people around and discriminate, communicate with people around, prepare on its own and commute between home and school using known transport medium, comfortable with basics of these 3. And then the family's outcome or the family wishes that the baby should be a successful person in the society, uphold the family culture and tradition, and he be a responsible citizen. This is when the baby grows up. So if you try to relate all these 3 quadrants with PEOs, and COs, and it is really interesting. And you can post your response in the chat box if you want. Which part is PEO, which part is PO, and which part is CO. So that's all I can say from my side. Any questions? Any other queries?
No, ma'am.
No questions. We have a question here. I have got from the technical team that does course outcome impact on performance of students? If do, then how to evaluate? Of course, course outcome the way we are framing our course outcomes have a direct impact on students' learning, because our course outcomes are framed by us and we are going to deliver it to our students in our way. So it will have a direct impact on our students. Any more queries?
No, madam.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, madam.
I hope people are posting in the comments group which quadrant is which part of the program outcome or program educational outcome or course outcome. So shall I stop my presentation? So we are getting the response regarding the which you posted. First quadrant is PO, second quadrant is PO, the fourth quadrant is CO. Exactly. So if there are no queries, shall we break for the session and then resume back with the next session after 15 to 20 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Participants asked me for a break between one session to another session.
Yes,
So we'll
ma'am.
break for 15 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
After 15 minutes
Okay, madam.
for the next session.
At what time will be resuming?
It's quarter to 12.
Ma'am, should we leave the meeting or we should just put the be on the meeting?
You can be on the meeting and you can be.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
ఇది వద్దు కదా ఇప్పుడు ఇది
Hello.
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 Hello. Hello.
Hello, madam.
Hello. Hello, did they start?
Hello. Hello.
Hello, madam. Hello.
Ma'am, it is a break time, ma'am, as many participants have asked for a break. to charge their handsets and laptops. The next speaker is coming. Sharp 2 o'clock, the session will be started.
Hello, madam. When will the session will start?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Madam, what time session will be started?
Sir, 12 o'clock, sir. No, madam has come. Madam is preparing her presentation of slide and all.
Okay, okay.
It will be starting in a minute, sir. Like yesterday, participants were asking for a break. That they need some break in the morning session to charge their mobiles and all. So as we have started at 10 o'clock and 11:15, we have given 11:45, we have given a short break so that they can charge their handsets and laptops.
Okay, sir.
Because we should respect everyone's what do you call request. So that is the thing. Madam has come and madam is waiting for a few participants to join, I think.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, can I start with the session?
Yeah, madam, please, madam.
Okay. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just get a confirmation, please? Is my screen
Visible,
visible to you?
Yes,
all?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Yes,
visible.
madam.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
madam.
Thank you
Yes,
so
madam.
much.
Yes, madam.
Well,
Higher temperature.
okay, let's start with the session.
That is
And
because of the and you might use a gradient based optimization tool to improve the channel. And
I know who's this speaking behind, because if there is some disturbance, I can't continue my session. I request one and all to please put your thank you for that, technical team. And before I start the session, I feel much privileged today to take up this opportunity, and thank you, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. Let me introduce myself. I am Mrs. Pisapati Sailila Vaishnavi, working as Assistant Professor and Head for Department of Civil Engineering at Global Institute of Engineering and Technology, and I have been associated with Global Institute of Engineering and Technology since 2014. And my association with Zishan sir, I can tell you in a word that he is my guru. He has taught me everything. Whatever I am today, I am only because of Zishan sir. Thank you so much, sir, for having faith in me and giving me this opportunity. And at the outset, I would like to congratulate you all that this workshop has got a national importance. I think all of you have seen paper today. There was a clipping today about this workshop, 3-day workshop, which has attracted people around. And from top to bottom of the country, I heard that around from 12 states we have nearly received around 1,000 applications wherein they had to scrutinize, and they have taken up you people. And congratulations for that, for having being selected for this. And I hope that whatever you're learning at this workshop, you will go and apply in your institution so that you can get best of what you are. And then on the outset, I hope all of you are staying home and staying safe amidst this corona period, and you're taking good care of your health and utilizing your time to the utmost level and taking much benefit of your time. And I think by the end of this corona period, more than our students, I think we faculty will be much trained, because we are all compelled to take up so many workshops, seminar sessions. At the end of the day, again, when we go back to the college, we'll be asked, oh, where did you go? What did you participate in? Okay, so I think more than our students, we will be trained. So all the best for you all in all the endeavors. And let's now start with the session. My session is on applications of rubrics in outcome-based assessment. Okay, application of rubrics in outcome-based assessment. Now, in continuation, just a second, please. Okay, thank you. In continuation with the yesterday's session, because people feel connected when I give them the touches of the previous speakers, right? You need to have a proper link in between session to session. Well, I'll try to make up that. Okay. And as what Professor Dr. Arun Kumar Tangirala Garu, yesterday he has mentioned you that before taking a session or a class or conducting anything to your students, you want to deliver something to your students, first of all, you need to know what whom are you supposed to teach this particular lecture to. Okay, and what kind of competencies are expected to be delivered to your students, and which cadre of students are you teaching, whether it is a creamy level of students, a normal medium level students, or slightly slow learners. Whom are we taking the class to, and how can you assess whether the student has achieved some specific outcome as a part of your teaching strategy or teaching methodology. Okay, then first of all, again, I'm going to repeat this. Which kind of student are we going to teach? What kind of competencies are you expecting from that student? Okay, and how are you going to assess these competencies? And when I have assessed, I will get some answers. Okay, so based on those solutions, how do I implement corrective measures so as to increase their knowledge level? Okay, that is one. And you know, again, if that doesn't satisfy, again you run the same program. So this is how we do. Okay, and now coming to the session, we are studying now about rubrics. Okay, now before I start with the session, we will go with the outcomes. I think Madam Nuzatunisa has clearly explained you yesterday how to write outcomes for anything. Now these are my sessional outcomes. Okay, wherein if I can have participants slightly interactive. Now what is this word? At the end of this session, the participants will be able to, I think by now you people are competent enough to judge my outcomes. Can I have participants please? What is this word called? At the end of the session, participants will be able to, there is some name for this word. Can I have someone in the party? No, this one. At the end of the session, this one, what do you call? You call it a common stem. We call it a common stem.
Yes.
Okay, right? Now, what are the three parts of outcome? Yesterday, ma'am has explained you what are the three parts of outcome.
Performance, condition, and criterion.
So you have three components of your outcome: performance component, condition component, and criteria component. And let me tell you that these three need not be compulsory. There is no compulsion that you need to have all the three in your outcome. Okay, it may be one, it may be two, or it may be three. Okay, now I need some active participants to tell me quickly what do I have in my outcomes. Okay, explain the necessity of rubrics as an assessment tool. Yes, please. A quick activity.
Madam,
your slides is not visible, madam.
My slide is not visible. Just give me.
Changing the slide.
Slide is visible, but is not changed.
You're not changing, ma'am.
Which slide are you seeing, madam? Can I please know?
First slide.
First one.
Application of the tricks. First slide.
Okay.
Introduction slide.
Can the technical team please help me? How can I resolve this?
Just go to full screen. full
Yes,
screen.
I am in full screen now.
And then
No,
you
no,
can
no,
just
ma'am.
navigate.
Is
Navigate
my
to the
screen
next one.
also okay?
Please go to full screen, madam.
Yeah. Yeah. Navigate. Yeah. So this is
Can you
the
see my
first
full
screen.
screen?
This is your title screen, which is visible. Just navigate to the next
Madam,
screen.
it is full screen.
Now can you see this? Yes, I am in my full screen. To me, my full screen is visible.
Fluid region from this T section. For that,
Press
it's asking
F5.
very now in this case, yes. But if
Press
you have
F5.
Ma'am, I am already in
F5,
my
madam.
full screen. To my screen, I am already in full. Yes, I know. F5 is the control option. I am already in my full screen. Now, is this okay with you? Is this okay with you? Can I just show it to you this way?
This is the first slide, your title slide, which is just being displayed.
Ma'am, my full screen, is it not visible to you? See, now I have given my full screen. Is it visible to you?
No, madam.
I'm in full screen now.
Your screen is visible to us. That is not a problem. This what participants are stating. Your second slide you have not clicked on. You started with the second slide and explaining, but you have not changed your slide.
No, I have changed my slide. Now, can someone please tell me now? I have put the second
It is showing
slide.
first slide.
Session outcomes. I have put my second
First
slide.
slide only it is showing.
It is showing your
Well,
name.
But it is
okay.
not
Not to take much of your time. Can you see this now? Can I use this way? Can I use it this way if I am permitted to? Because it is taking time now. I don't know why is it not showing.
No, ma'am.
Showing the first
First slide.
Now?
Yeah. Now
Better I use this mode, ma'am. Okay, better I use this mode. Okay, I think it will be helpful. It will not take much of my time. Right. Okay, coming back to the session. Okay, these are my sessional outcomes as we have thought to do. We'll have a small activity now, right? So explain the necessity of rubrics as an assessment tool. Now, what components does it have? Quickly, please. Only performance. Any others who want to contradict?
Performance and
Performance.
Condition.
Criteria. Condition, correct.
criteria.
What is the
Criteria,
condition?
ma'am.
As an assessment.
Performance, criteria, and condition, ma'am.
Explain.
applications.
No, it is performance.
And condition.
Where is the condition, please?
Application.
Performance and
You will
criteria.
have three. You will have
Performance
three.
and criteria.
No. It is performance component and
Criteria.
where do you
Criteria,
have
ma'am.
criteria? Till what level? Are we mentioning any level here? Not mentioning any.
Application
You are
oriented.
explaining the necessity as an assessment tool. You can consider it partly to be a condition. No.
Performance
First part
and
is
condition.
explaining
Only
is
the
condition.
performance.
Explaining is performance. And as assessment
And
tool.
condition. Condition it is.
Yes. And next, differentiate holistic and analytical rubrics has got how many components?
Performance.
Performance and
Only
condition.
performance. Very good. And next, understand the components of analytical rubric.
Performance.
Same.
Performance.
Very good. And next, develop an analytical rubric for a subjective course, assignment, and a lab experiment.
Performance and condition.
And condition.
Condition.
Performance. Where is the condition?
For a subjective course assignment and lab experiment.
Lab experiment.
Criteria also.
Where is the criteria?
Lab is showing the location.
Condition should tell you under this specific limit I am supposed to do, or this specific rules I am supposed to follow. Here we don't have any condition. It is just a performance. Okay, next one is develop rubrics for an online assignment. This is also performance
and condition.
component. Performance. Okay. You are not given any condition here. Using this particular thing, that particular thing will be condition. Okay, this is performance alone. Okay, so that was a quick lineup. Now coming back to my session is we need to work on rubrics, right? Yes, sir.
Last
Hello, sir.
one.
Yes,
Last
sir.
one only performance, sir.
Yes, performance.
Last
It is
one.
performance alone. Yes, sir. Performance. Using
Condition,
what?
madam,
You using. See,
for
if
an
I tell
online
you
assignment.
using something, then it will be a condition. It is just a performance component now.
Can you
Okay.
please show us one example that is having criteria?
Up to this particular level, up to certain level, up to certain quality will be your criteria level, sir. Okay. Now, coming back to our topic, I think we are deviating much. Okay, this is a small activity. Fine. And now, next, what a rubric is. We'll come to my topic now. What a rubric is. Now, rubric is a kind of assessment tool that will indicate you the achievement of a particular criteria which you are framing. Now, let us suppose you want to evaluate your student on a particular criteria across various components or some kind of competency or some kind of student work. Then in such case, rubric will act as a tool. It acts as an assessment tool which will help you to analyze the achievement of the student's activity. Okay, and then wherein you need to evaluate it under certain parameters. Okay, we will evaluate the student's performance under certain parameters, which will be clearly explained in the next slides. And this will also act as an excellent tool when you want to access this for any student works. Okay, and then these are the two types of rubrics. One is called holistic rubric. Please put yourselves on mute, please. Okay, so one type of rubric is a holistic rubric and the other one is an analytical rubric. Okay, holistic rubric. Now, if I want to tell you what a holistic rubric is, now when I am correcting an assignment, I just directly give him 5 marks. 5 marks on what basis am I giving him? Now, every student will write answer. But on what basis are you judging that this particular student has given you a performance of 5 marks?
Some scheme of evaluation.
Scheme of evaluation, very good. You will have scheme. Same is the way, in order to judge your assignments, you need to have something which is called as a rubric. Same, it is nearly same, which is called as a rubric. Okay, so rubrics are of two types, holistic and analytical. Now, if you go with what a holistic rubric is, you can see on your screen, it does not separate the parts of activity to be evaluated, and a global description is made without specifying the components of process. So if you're clearly observing this, we don't separate the activity. Now let us suppose I give an essay question to my student. Okay, directly I just give him some 2 marks, 3 marks, 5 marks. Now I don't categorize on what basis am I allotting him this marks. Now that case, I just give him, okay, good, competent enough. You have written good. You have written very good. You need to improve. That one line statement which I make is called as a holistic rubric, if you can understand. Okay, so that one line statement, which is also called as a global description. Okay, so that one line statement is called as a holistic rubric, and you don't specify what are the different components of that particular answer. Whereas coming to your analytical rubric, now this is very, 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 very important, and it is gaining its importance nowadays, especially when OBE is to its full implementation. Rubrics have now become very, very important. Next part is called as your analytical rubric. This is the second type. First type is holistic rubric, and the second type is your analytical rubric. Now this analytical rubric, what does this do? Now, if suppose you have an assessment question, you take this question, you break it into different subsections, and based on each and every subsection, you will judge the student. And when I want to draw a final conclusion of what the student has done, I will sum up all of these, and finally I give what is the grade of that particular student, and I clearly have an evidence. Now, if you have worked for your NAAC and NBA, you know what kind of paperwork you do and what kind of proofs do you say for yourself. So it also acts as that particular proof, wherein if someone comes, I can tell them based on these points, I have judged my student. Okay, so this is how is an analytical rubric. So once again, for your understanding, I'm repeating the sentence. Clearly details the indicators of each activity and specifies the evaluation criteria according to the performance of the student. Okay, and now we will see what is the difference between these two. Analytical, excuse me, Madam Nuzhat Unisa, if you can just move your pointer a little. Madam Nuzhat Unisa, if you can just please move your pointer a little, it is blocking my screen. Here is your pointer, if you can please move your pointer. Okay, and now what is the difference between an analytical rubric and a holistic rubric? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, analytical rubric and a holistic rubric. Now, when as discussed, analytical rubric will separate each of the activities. Whereas holistical, madam, please mute yourself. I hope all of you are teachers and you can understand the pain of someone blocking your talk. Please. Thank you. Okay, so analytical rubric and a holistic rubric. Now we shall see what is the difference between these two kinds of rubrics. Okay, so as we have discussed before, analytical rubric, you will break the activity into individual parts or individual grading criteria. Individual grading criteria, wherein you judge each of them, and finally when you want to come up with the grade, you will sum up all of them. Okay, whereas if you come to your holistic rubric, it will rate the activity without any regard to separate units. As I told you, you get a global description. Okay, we give a global description of the performance. Okay, now coming to the scoring, as I told you, individually, as we are breaking this into individual parts, all of them will be summed up, and finally to give the total score, you will get the analytical rubric. And here you don't have so many parts, so single score is what speaks about your holistic rubric. Single score or a single word of description will speak about your holistic rubric. And then now analytical rubric is a process oriented and holistic rubric is a product oriented. Now holistic rubric sees whether you have got the final answer or not. Now quality is what matters, and quality is what made you come here to study about, to learn about OBE as teachers, right? Now when you talk about quality, process is what matters you more. Okay, so it is a process oriented, means every step by step, you allocate some marks for certain kind of performance of that particular student. Okay, and then now coming to holistic rubric, it is used when the activity is difficult to be judged or difficult to interrelate. Okay, you can't judge that particular topic, you can't break. In some cases where it is of not that much of importance, or when you can't break up an activity wherein you divide it into so many parts and see, in such cases you go for a holistic rubric. Okay, and by the end of the session, I wish someone giving an example for holistic rubric. Okay, I hope I am heard. By the end of the session, I expect someone to give an example for a holistic rubric. Okay, now I'll explain everything, and finally I expect you to give this. And then analytical rubric, what does it do? It provides a detailed and targeted feedback. This is what is important for us. In any kind of accreditation you go, you need how have you arrived to that particular conclusion. If my student is standing at a grade A, I need to tell the team why is he standing, based on what parameters did I judge his performance as A. Okay, so which one gives me that detailed context of the student's work? It is only the analytical rubric that gives me the answer. Okay, and then holistic rubric, it doesn't give you a detailed feedback. So that is with your holistic rubric. As we know, it is a single word that explains the performance of students, or a single mark that explains the performance of your student. Here, single mark doesn't mean 1 mark, 2 marks. It means the mark, the count, the grade. Okay, the single entity will tell you what is the performance of students. And then next is the components of analytical rubric. This is very, very, very important. Mind you, all of you will be having an assignment wherein you are going to frame the rubrics. I am now going to explain you the rubrics, and in the activity session, you'll be going to frame me up a rubric and you're going to explain me. Fine. And components of analytical rubric. So this is how you frame your rubric. Yeah, this is how you frame it. And here, if you're observing, this is a table wherein you have performance attributes and performance levels or scales. Okay, performance attributes and performance levels. And connecting to a attribute and a level, you give a description. Okay, connecting to a attribute and a level, we give a description which is called as a performance descriptor. Okay, now again you may ask, madam, is it that only I should use rows for performance attributes and columns for levels? No, nothing as such. It is interchangeable. It is totally based on your convenience. I can write my levels here and performance attributes here. That is not a problem. Okay, it is entirely your will and your requirement wherein you want to show the level of the student's performance. Okay, so what are the three basic components here? One will be your performance attribute, performance level, and performance descriptor. Okay, these three together will constitute your analytical rubric, right? Performance attribute, performance level, and a performance descriptor. Okay, now performance attribute. Please pay attention. Performance attribute. What does this mean? Now, based on what parameters do you want to judge the student assignment? Okay, based on what parameters do you want to judge your student's assignment? Now here, bottom, you have examples. All these I have taken from Google. Okay, fine. So here, if you're observing this, examples, content knowledge. Okay, now my performance attribute, first performance attribute on which I am judging is content knowledge. And second one, pronunciation, grammar. It depends. Okay, in some cases you may take some other variables or different performance attributes to judge your student's performance. Okay, so here are few examples which are mentioned: content knowledge, pronunciation, grammar. Sometimes I can take teamwork. Okay, I'll show you in the next examples that I have, wherein you'll have a clear picture in your mind. Okay, how can you frame a rubric? Okay, and now next, what will be the scale? Now there is a different scales which you can use. Okay, generally for this quality work, you need to have less number. You can sustain yourself to 3 to 5, maximum 5. If you are increasing your levels, it is unnecessarily a big headache wherein you can't properly judge your student. Okay, so it will be very much comfortable if you are using 3 levels, and if suppose still you want a detailed quality analysis, then you can go for 5 levels. That will be mostly enough. Okay, there is no need for you to get extended, or there is no need for you to move further for further levels. It is unnecessarily a waste of time. Rather, that will not be much useful to you. Okay, and how can I give these scales? If you're observing this, see the scales. I can give the scales this way. I can categorize the scales as, levels as advanced, intermediate, high, intermediate, and novice. This is one scale of measurement. Or see this, you know, whenever you want to use scales, people of NBA, they will not generally appreciate when you use fail or something which will degrade the morale of students. So generally you're supposed to use such boosting words like need some more work. Okay, you need some more work, you're developing, you're in a beginning stage. You are supposed to use such words which will attract the eye of the peer team. Okay, so that is how you need to use your words. Okay, and then needs improvement. See, this is what I was talking about. I just can't tell you, you are a waste fellow. I should counsel my student, telling him that you need some improvement in this. Okay, so talking softly and letting him know what is the level. You are doing both. You are speaking softly, you're letting him know what is the level. So same is the way I convey. Okay, I convey it like needs improvement, meets expectations, exceeds expectations. These are some 3 scales wherein you can use. Then I can use exemplary, proficient, marginal, and unacceptable. This is one such thing again. And another example is distinguished, distinguished, proficient, intermediate, and novice again. Or accomplished, average, developing, and beginning. See how pleasing it is to use this word beginning instead of telling fail. Okay, beginning. And then mastery, partial mastery, progressing, and emerging. So these are certain examples that will talk about the scales of performance. Okay, performance attributes, performance levels, performance descriptors. These will constitute most of your analytical rubric. Now, when someone asks you what are the components, it is not just these 3. Okay, sometimes I want to give my extra suggestions, my extra inputs to the students that might help them to come up with certain thing. I can mention that also in my rubric. Okay, so it is not a tailor stitched one. You can just come up with your ideas, you can add, you can delete, but these are 3 basic important components of an analytical rubric. Okay, sometimes I want to add my overall impression, or sometimes I can add my total marks. Okay, so this is how we need to prepare a rubric. Okay, and then now this is one example. This is one example.
Have the solution in place. If you are working on a new problem, you can even post your question over there, and peers across the globe as well as ANSYS employees are working on a student community to answer to your queries.
Crosstalk.
And a few YouTube channel which is managed by ANSYS
someone
directly.
Mute this, please.
How to use ANSYS and as well as
I'm
ANSYS
hearing
technique.
some crosstalk on ANSYS.
Resources you can use to get started.
I'm hearing some crosstalk on ANSYS technical team. May I please request you to properly mute participants, please? Can't continue with my session, please, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, so next is one such example wherein we are showing a rubric. Okay, now let us suppose I am planning for a rubric wherein I want to judge my students' presentation. Presentation works good in this example. Okay, I want to judge my students' presentation. Then there are few points where I am judging my student on. Okay, it is organization, content, presentation, planning, outcome. Then the quality parameters shall go by exemplary, accomplished, developing. Okay, so these are the 3 quality parameters. I am again telling you that 3 will be more than sufficient. And see, it is not that I put just like this, and I need to give a proper description what makes that particular student fall under this portion. Let us suppose I want to take an answer under this one, exemplary. When I want to judge for organization of matter, then I want to put it exemplary. Now what makes me take that particular student under this shall be clearly mentioned here. Okay, you need to mention clearly on based on what, based on which kind of performance can you judge the student or categorize student as exemplary for this criteria organization. Okay, that we need to mention here. Okay, so next, so this is one such example which tells you how to make a rubric. And then now this is an example which helps you describe what falls into what and how shall you give the description. I'll just quickly come down. Now, this is one. Yeah. Okay. This is one rubric prepared for a project. Again, I'm telling you, you can use this. Something is blocking my screen. A second, please. Yeah, right. Okay. So this is one prepared for a project wherein I am judging student under level A, level B, level C, level D for problem definition. Now, when I want to call that particular student level A, this is what is the criteria I am checking for. He has investigated problem domain extensively. Okay. So based on this, I am putting him into the level A. Okay, level A, B, C, D. Again, for planning again, level A, B, C, D. So this is what we are seeing here. Okay, here, see this. Stated objective or performance shall go by this way. And here you will have the quality parameters. Now, if suppose I want to categorize a student as beginning, then description of identifiable performance characteristics reflecting a beginning level of performance. Okay, so this will be a beginning level. And then description of identifiable performance characteristics reflecting development and movement towards mastery of performance. Okay, this is movement towards mastery of performance. And then accomplished state. When can I call that? This is accomplished. Description of identifiable performance characteristics reflecting a competent performance. Okay, now I can for this yesterday's session of Madam Nusatunisa, I can give her I can give you all the stage of accomplished because you were all competent enough to judge my outcomes. So I can tell that you are under the level of accomplished. Now madam, when madam wants to make a rubric for her presentation, then she can use this. Okay, so she can tell that you are all in the state of accomplished. And when can you call that you fall under this condition of exemplary? When the description of identifiable performance characteristics reflecting the highest level of performance. So when you have a highest level of performance, then you can be called as an exemplary. Now, as I told you, you can use different quality speaking parameters. Okay, based on your choice, right? And then now, when I want to assess the presentation skills, okay, these are few parameters where I want to judge my student into, and these are my quality parameters. Okay, and for individually for each of them, I need to write down clearly what is the thing that makes the student fall into this particular criteria or this particular quality parameter. Okay, so now you people can understand it will be very difficult for you to make 5, 6, 7, 10 columns and you will write individual explanation for each of the columns and it will not be of any use to you. Okay, you can't take much benefit out of it. Better you just restrict yourself for 3. Okay, so here I am judging the presentation skills based on these. Can the student speak with clarity? Is the usage of language apt? Now I can break these sentences into just points like speaking with clarity. Here I can tell language, apt language. And here I can tell teamwork. Here I can tell presentation. So you can cut short these words. It is totally your comfort, your convenience because it is you who are going to judge. Finally, to the peer team, you're supposed to show how basically at the end of the day on what parameters are you judging your student. So these are the rubrics. And now coming back to the example which we have discussed before, this is one such example or one such rubric prepared for a project, students project. Okay, now this one I'll try to explain it more clearly so that you will have a detailed idea wherein at the end of the day you are supposed to work on this assignment and you need to give it to me. Just a second, please. I'm sorry. Sorry for the disturbance. My charger got disconnected and my system was running low on battery. Right. Thank you. And so now let us take the example of this wherein I'm evaluating the project of my student. Okay, these are three things that I've taken. You will have many more things to judge. For example, let us take these three things: problem definition, planning, project management. What are these three? What are these three? Here it is mentioned. What are these three? Participants, please speak. What are these three?
Criteria for
Performance
evaluation.
attributes.
Evaluation
Criteria for
criteria.
evaluation.
Or yes,
Performance attributes.
anything goes fine. Anything goes fine. Okay, and then these will be your, what is this
Performance
speaking
level.
about?
Levels.
Performance levels. Right, good. So now when I want to judge a student that he's in the level A, basing on this criteria, which is problem definition, when will he come under this? I need to write an explanation. Okay, so here is my actual problem. I need to write. He has investigated problem domain extensively. Okay, now when I want to judge him to level B, then problem domain well understood, clear, and specific descriptions of problem. Then relevance is well identified. In that case, he comes under level B. Then when can I take him to the level C? Moderately has awareness of problem domain. Then he has a clear description, broad idea about relevance to current technical and social context. Then when does he fall into level D? He has a minimal awareness of problem domain. Then he'll be vague in description. I hope all of you have seen such comedy videos of Viva and all. Okay, so some vague answers students will generally try to give us. Okay, so he falls under this level D. So he will have a minimal awareness of the problem domain. Then he will give a vague description. Then he has very little idea about the relevance to current technical and social context. Okay, now this is the only example which we are going in deep so that you will have a good idea. And then planning. Now, if suppose I want to judge him based on planning, this is one another criteria. Now, where he falls in level A, when this schedule and effort estimation using tools. Okay, and then level B, precise schedule and effort. He estimates manually. Here he is estimating with tools. That is entirely dependent on type of project which he's doing. Okay, and then schedule and effort estimation. He just does effort estimation. Inappropriate schedule and effort estimation makes him fall into level D. And then next is project management. Based on this project management, how shall I judge him? Has taken leadership of the project and monitored the progress of the project. In addition, has completed all tasks assigned to him. Okay, and then level B, has monitored the progress of the project and completed all the tasks assigned to him. He has just monitored and he has also completed, but we don't know what is this level. And then has completed all the tasks assigned to him. He did not monitor any progress of the project. And then has not completed all the tasks assigned to him. In such case, the student falls into level. Okay, so here are such examples. This is for a group work, project work. This is for a project planning, and this is one such wherein this is for a technical research interview. Okay. This is for a site visit. These are all rubrics. Now, this can be used for labs. Okay. Then general, mostly you can go for labs, and sometimes you can also use it for projects. Deleting few of these you can use for projects also. Okay. Now, as a teacher, and your role will be, you will describe these criteria, these levels. Individual level you will describe. Okay, now how are you supposed to develop a rubric? What are the different steps of developing a rubric? Sir, may I just have the technical team, because the time is 12:40. Can I please continue with my session? It will take another 10 to 15 minutes for me. Technical team, can I continue my session, please? I'm given a slot till 12:40.
Ma'am, please continue until 1 o'clock, ma'am. 1 to 2, we'll give a break.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. And now, so developing an analytical rubric. How is that you develop an analytical rubric? So by now, all of you are much clear in knowing what are the different components of your rubric. Okay, so you have a criteria, then you have a quality parameter which will judge, then you have a quality descriptor. Okay, so these are your components. You need to frame these components in a proper way. That is your developing analytical rubric. That is what is the development. Okay, now how is that we are going to develop? First of all, you need to decide on what criteria or what essential elements I can tell precisely. Okay, essential elements, you are supposed to present the students' work in order to ensure a proper quality judgment of your assignment. Okay, that is most important. And then first we are with our criteria. Okay, so done with criteria. We are supposed to develop criteria, and then if you're running out of ideas, this generally works good. Okay, if you're running, if competently you're a fresher, or you are new to this, then in such cases what you are supposed to do is, this is my suggestion, you can take an assignment of an exemplary student which are stored in records of your department or some previous course files of your department. You can just have a quick glance, a quick revision, see what is that which is differentiating an exemplary or an outstanding student from a normal student. You just check the paper. How is the performance of that student? What is the performance of this student? So what is that lagging? Based on those points, again, you can develop your rubric. Okay, so this is a small suggestion for all the newcomers. And then, so first I have my criteria. Then second point, how many levels of achievement do I want, or shall I want to include in my rubric that will actually help you to grade the assignment, wherein you need to take into consideration the institution norms even. Sometimes my institution prefers giving a highest quality. Sometimes, mostly all institutions do prefer for a good quality, but sometimes it doesn't matter much in the assignments. Okay, that doesn't have much prominence in the assignments. In such cases, I can cut down my quality parameters. But as I told you before, again and again, I'm telling you, 3 are more than enough. 3 quality parameters shall go extremely good for you to judge the performance of students. Okay, so you need to take into consideration your institution norms as well. Then for each criteria or component, you need to give a clear description on based on what observable performance a student's assignment falls into that particular category. So you need to make a clear description of it. Fine. So, and as I told you that these are not only 3 components alone which will constitute your analytical rubric. You can also leave some space for adding your overall impression. You can add some new elements, some totals you can add up in the same rubric which you prepare. Okay, so a rubric can have anything. Based on what is your requirement, you shall make your rubric. First you go up with the criteria, then you go with the quality parameters, then you write what are the descriptors for each parameter. That constitutes your analytical rubric. Now next is student involvement. How shall I involve my student? Now this is what happily gives you some breathing time to relax. Okay, this gives you some breathing time to relax, whereas it puts under activity the more what can I say, hyperactive student kind. You have hyperactive students in your class. You might generally encounter this with your classrooms, where you have hyperactive student who's always running here, going there, disturbing everyone. So such students, if they are slightly good enough, you can engage them in preparing a rubric, or you can attach this fellow with some peer group, and this peer group is extremely important. If suppose you want to have group discussions in your class, Generally, how do we divide them? We make a peer student, then followed by rest levels. Okay, then we will make sure that each of the group has got a peer candidate. Okay, so such peer groups are also important, and you can take more from these students, wherein you can give an assignment, a task to students to prepare a rubric for your lecture, for your assignment. I'm sorry, for your assignment. Now, what are the advantages of this analytical rubric? Now, this analytical rubric, this helps you, this gives you a clear idea of judging the students in terms of their learning levels. Okay, and then this can be applied consistently for an assignment, and it provides sufficient feedback for improvement. Now, what is the entire need for me to prepare a rubric? I want to assess what is the performance of my student. Yes, so at the end of the day, what will I do with that performance? I shall either implement it, or I shall put some corrective measure. Yes, or I shall improve my teaching, or I shall give them some extra notes. So this is what is the major benefit that you can draw from your analytical rubric. It provides sufficient feedback for improvement. And then when student work is at varying levels, spanning the criteria points, it can be easy to rate a student. This works in every classroom, because you have different levels of students. Now, some students, they are nearly equal to one another, very nearly equal to one another. Now he will raise a complaint, madam, I've written more well than this particular student, but why did you give me less mark? Then at that time I can just show him the rubric. Okay, so in few universities, it is also a practice that when they give their assignment, they also hand over the rubric to the students. That is based on what criteria will their assignment be judged. Okay, and then how are we supposed to use the rubric effectively? So these are few points which will help you to use your rubric effectively. Develop a different rubric for each assignment, and you need to be transparent. You need to integrate rubrics. This is much more important. Now at the end of the day, now tomorrow when you go back to your colleges, when colleges start, you need to implement this. Okay, so only if you implement it, it will fetch you. If not, there is no use for you attending this FDP. You need to implement it in your regular academics. Okay, and integrate rubrics into assignments. Then leverage rubrics to manage your time. You need to cut short all that which is not required, and you can manage your time with your rubric. And then be prepared to revise your rubrics, because rubrics can't be same all the time. It depends on my students, this particular batch and the other batch. And even sometimes what will happen is the understanding levels of the student in a particular semester, even the understanding levels keep changing. Then I need to change my rubrics next time when I want to assess my students' assignment. So this continuous change has to be answered for. Yes, so and then considering to develop online rubrics. This is what is most important. Online rubric development. If I have some time, I will show you. I hope all of you are proficient enough in using your Google Classrooms. Do any one of you know how to add rubrics to your Google Classroom? I will now show you how to add. Okay, so we have seen how to develop an analytical rubric. I'll just show you. Let me share my screen. I'm just sharing another part of my screen. Can you see my screen? Is a Google Classroom visible to you all?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is a Google Classroom, where if suppose I want to add some classwork, I want to add an assignment. Okay, I want to add an assignment by title. I can give you Unit 4. I'm just generalizing. I'm not going into any topic. Instructions. I give some instructions to my students, and I add questions to it. I add questions here. I can add questions. we shall have a quick glance. Okay, I'm not taking much time on this. Question 1 and 2. So I'll add up all my questions here. And if I want to give an attachment, I can attach here. And here is where I have a chance to give my rubric. All of you are seeing this? Here is where you will give rubric in your Google Classroom. Okay, I'm using a rubric, create a rubric. Okay, now here I can use this for scoring or not. Okay, this is my wish entirely, whether I want to use this rubric for scoring or not. Well, for now, I'm using this for rubric. I can here give a title. Upon answering all the questions. Okay, and then I want to give the description for my criteria. Description for my criteria. Now you people have just learned what are the different criteria based on which we are going to evaluate the assessment. Now let us suppose I want to evaluate it based on some general thing goes to be completion status. Can we take up completion status? Completion status. I can give points, okay, and I can describe up to what completion status, up to this, up to that, I can describe. Then if I want to add something more into this, I can add up into this completion status. Okay, these will be your quality parameters. Okay then, and next, I suppose I want to add another one. Another one is I wish to add something like I can add up level of understanding. Okay, I will add a level of understanding. Then I can describe my level of understanding here. Then coming to this, I can again grade it into levels. This is where I can grade it into levels. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Here I can give the points for that. And I can give my level title. Like a level title goes to be, I hope all of you remember your quality parameters. Here you can give your quality parameters. That 3 quality parameters of 5 quality, I want to go for 5. Then I can add 5 quality parameters. Then individually I will describe. Description is what we have seen, that descriptor. Okay, descriptor, performance descriptor shall go in here. Okay, so this is how I add my rubric. And this is what marks the end of my session, wherein we will follow up with an assignment or an activity. I'll just ask the coordinator, just a second please. I'll ask the coordinator wherein he can suggest me, I can give this as an activity or an assignment for you to work upon tonight. Okay, so this is how you develop an analytical rubric for an online assignment. And then this will be your activity session. That is what marks the closure of this particular topic. Can I have the team, please? I'm done with my session. If you want to ask me something, you're open.
Ma'am, kindly post your PPT in WhatsApp group, ma'am.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. We will send this to the concerned coordinator of this workshop, and they will disseminate this through the other ways how they are sharing you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Most welcome. And we will certainly have an activity. I wish you people to take a screenshot. For now, you please take a screenshot. Mostly we might have an activity session or an assignment. I'll once ask the coordinator and let this be confirmed. All of you please take a photograph or a screenshot of this. You need to develop an analytical rubric for any one online assignment. I'm explaining you this, please pay attention. You will develop an analytical rubric for one online assignment of any subject of your choice in your stream, and then you will develop a rubric for a class assignment of any subjective course. Okay, and then develop a rubric for evaluation of a laboratory experiment. This is what is to be done in your third activity. So first one will be an online assignment. You need to develop a rubric. Then second activity will be you need to develop a rubric for a class assignment. Third activity will be you need to develop a rubric for a laboratory assignment, and for me 3 scales will go good. Okay, you can judge it in 3 scales, and criteria is entirely your wish on how many criteria you want to do your rubric categorization. Well, that is all for today session. I'm done with my session. Thank you and all.
Ma'am, thank you so much.
Most welcome, sir.
The questions for the section.
Yes, sir, questions are encouraged. Please, you can please ask your questions, sir.
Madam, these rubrics can be right for this like exams, like they'll be writing the end exams. Can we frame the rubrics
for end exam? You have it by a different name. You will have it by the name scheme of evaluation.
Yeah.
Yes.
The simple one. That only I'm asking for the scheme of evaluation.
Yes. It is same. It is same. Based on what are we judging? It is same.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Like mini projects also will be having like what are the guidelines?
Yes, sir, for projects, mini projects. You can see for projects you can have it for mini projects. Then you can have it for comprehensive viva of the students. Then whatever you want, wherever you want to judge the performance of your students, and you want a descriptive quality that you want to present it to someone based on this. I have judged my students. Then you are free to use a rubric in that particular place.
Another question like this, not comment, like how many points, like we can give 10 by 10 points, it will be different from college to college, I hope, like university or something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I told you when we are making a rubric, you need to respect the norms of your institute or your university.
I think this will be having so many agenda, like the board of studies will be having like academic council, everything it should be passing the.
At the end of the day, sir, it is we faculty who are judging on specific parameters. It comes to our decision at the end of the day, wherein I will judge the assignment of students. Though university will give me so many norms, it is me who will judge the student on some specific parameters or specific criteria. Okay, that criteria I shall make it a proper paper wherein I can show everyone that based on this particular criteria I have judged you, and based on this performance of yours you fall into this particular level.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Most welcome, sir. Well, I request the coordinator to please take over. I am done with my session. Thank you one and all. I shall expect you to join back for the afternoon session again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, dear participants, now we'll break for lunch, and sharp 2 p.m. We'll be back again for the next session of Madam Vaishnavi. And make sure that you give your attendance, which opens at 1:30 p.m. and closes at 1:50 p.m. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And please do not sign off. Be like in the meeting itself, keep it aside, keep your phone or mobile and this laptop on charge. Do not exit, because again it will be difficult for us to calculate the attendance. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.